hitting everything on my side. I was really hyped that
progress.
We were able to line this to have you come back on the show and everything, man. I was really hyped about it because having an opportunity to talk to you about your career was fun, but doing a little bit of that tonight, but then kind of broad stroke like topics across professional wrestling about, that's going to be a really cool conversation, especially from your perspective. So that'll be
right. And I know he was interviewing you and like just talking shit. Like that's my forte. So I was like, bro, you got to let me on the show. Like I hit him up like, you got room for one more. So that's how I ended up on. Like I got to get on this.
He did. I was like, absolutely, dude. 0 questions asked. I was like, you're here now. Let's go. So we're rolling. I'm going to give it, like I said, just probably 2 minutes, and then I'll hit the intro button, and I'll let you guys know when we're rolling, and I'll do my silly little intro. Do you guys, have y'all been watching the NBA Finals at all?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a big Celtics fan, dude, and I'm a little bit worried. I'm a little bit worried going into Game 6, to be honest.
Yeah, it's over. It's over.
I don't think so. I think
any game yet from the finals. Not yet. Which one are we even on? Is it 6 now?
Game 6 is tomorrow night, right, RN?
Yeah. I mean, if Golden State won with Steph and all them playing like complete ass, like it ain't looking good. It ain't looking good. But you got to think, like, it's also, too, Jason Tatum, this is first time around, like, everybody loses that. Whenever you make it to the finals, like, under 25, you always lose and play like shit in that first one. Like, it's just like...
You got to be a bridesmaids first.
Right,
yeah,
exactly,
for sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Like, it's not like nobody's going to hold this against him. I mean, literally everyone, if you make it that soon, you always play like shit. You never play to what you normally play like, and you fucking lose. Like, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Like...
I didn't know he was still that young.
Yeah,
he's under 25.
Yeah, he only played 1 year in college.
Okay, yeah. That'll do it. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
I thought he was like in his early 30s.
I think he's like 24, maybe.
All right, guys. Sweet. Y'all ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna hit my intro button. It's about a 25-second intro, and then I'll say some stuff and introduce you guys. Ready, set, go. Hello to all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched and Share Shots. We still have high hopes of delivering quality wrestling content, but if not, we'll sprinkle in some world champions and the rewind, so we still get over. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and I'm glad to be on this journey, and tonight that journey is Anything Goes with AC Mack and RN.
Yeah.
What's good, bro?
Man, I'm super hyped for it. So joining me tonight is the reigning and defending IWTV Indy World Champion, AC Mack. AC, thanks for coming back on, man, and chatting about some wrestling. How are you tonight?
Yo, thank you. I'm a little under the weather, but we're here now. The last interview went really, really well. So the minute you asked me to do this, I was all on board. So thanks for having me.
I'm super hyped to have you, man. We always love return guests, and especially love to see boys and friends of the show thrive, man. Also joining us tonight, he is on the top right of your screen. He is the co-host of The Rewind with Kai. He is also one of the brothers of the Smack Raw Podcast Network. He is the Kennel Master, RN. RN, how are you, brother?
Not to mention, you forgot the brains and beauty of the Rewind and the Smack Raw podcast and the Slayer, because I'm fucking destroying y'all in fantasy as well. So just make sure you can do my other AKAs. What you introduce me?
I'll put those in my notes. So AC, what we got going on, man? Inside the Smack Raw network, we've got, I think, 4 or 5 of us on teams, and what we did was we drafted wrestlers a la fantasy football, and we're giving points based on how our drafted rosters do in real life. life based on if they're on TV, if they're shooting promos, or if they win titles or lose titles. Like it's like we have this whole system. It's been this running thing throughout all the shows all season, and RN just ran away with it. And the best part about it is he called his shot the night we did the draft. He was like, every time I've ever drafted second, I've won it. And sure as shit, he's in first place now. It's nuts.
I got to find somebody to replace fucking Cody now. He was a big chunk of my points. I got to find somebody to take his spot now.
That was a huge loss, dude. I can't.
Absolutely.
It's on my list. Trust me, Cody is on my list. So before we dive too deep into the Anything Goes segment of the episode, I kind of wanted to open it up to the three of us to kind of take a second to talk about your career a little bit, AC Mack, and discuss kind of what's going on in your world.
Yeah, man. I'm here. What's up? What you want to know?
I guess I'm just gonna jump in. Like, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but like, I want to know. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, you know, as a black man, like the whole like being gay and homosexual, like it's different for us. So like, I didn't really understand it and like really like contemplating like take it seriously. So like, I got with my girlfriend and her best friend is a lesbian, and like I never really thought about people not being able to be themselves like for their entire lives. Yeah. And, like once somebody explained that to me, like I fucking like it blew my mind open and like made me look at everything. Because I'm all about authenticity and being your best self and being who you are. And I never thought about it as like that. As like people not being able to be themselves to their friends and their family. So I guess my big question was like, what gave you the strength and like what made you finally like say, fuck it, I'm coming out and I'm gonna be the first fucking gay world champion. Like that's that type of shit to me is dope, like hearing those stories.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's really, really hard. I saw a post a few days ago that said that you know, the people in the LGBT community, they have to wear masks and they have to hide themselves out of protection. Right, to the point where you become an actor of just giving other people this facade. Now you come out in your 20s and you have to unpack that and like pick out what from your childhood is real and what from your childhood was there just to protect yourself from others. So a lot of people in their mid to late 20s who are of the community are still trying to figure it out. You know, we're in relationships now and it's like, do I show affection in public? Do I not? Like, what's still okay? Like, you have grown people who are still trying to figure it out. Like, we're in high school. So that part, it sucks. But yeah, I came out actually before I started wrestling. Oh, okay. I was in college and I would take it to the grave that nobody would know. I'd marry a woman and have kids and be fine. Right. But I actually met a guy who I fell head over heels for, I fell in love with, and I just wasn't used to that feeling. I thought I was, but it wasn't until that hit that I was like, whoa, this is real.
It's real. You know it's real.
Yeah. It sounds corny, but I always tell people it felt like having a superpower. It felt like no matter how bad the day got, I knew I was going to come home to him, and that just made it all the better. I loved it so much so that being in love, that's what made me say, you know what, fuck it. I'm coming out. Whoever doesn't like it, I'm sorry, but this feeling that I have, I want to feel that.
It's worth it to share. It's worth it to share.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, fuck it. We out here.
So I asked,
that's legit though.
So I asked you on our previous episode, but so we'll do it again live for these guys. I'm a big old head in the industry, dude. That's one of the things. RN and Kai both give me a lot of shit for being the you know, the old guy on my porch screaming, "Get off my lawn!" You know, like that's me. That's me. But I'm a big guy on the territory days. Back in those days, those regional independent titles were the big ones because the world champ went everywhere. He was always in different territories all over the country. But when those guys carried those independent titles in those regional territories, it meant something. What you're representing now with IWTV could almost be seen like what the NWA title represented in the 1970s. In a sense, IWTV reined all these independent promotions in together and said, this is our world champion, AC Mack. Like, how does it feel to be that dude, for them to pin you as their guy to make the number one guy?
It feels unreal. It's definitely imposter syndrome. I just learned what that word is. So it's very much that. And I didn't even realize that that's how it was going to come across. They told me what the storyline was supposed to be, but it wasn't until after that I won the belt, and we started going back and forth with Beyond up north.
The best part is, like, I don't mean to cut you off, like when they were in the back and you had your mask on, they're like, don't be nervous, calm down. You're like freaking out and shit. Like that was the best part of that whole fucking thing, like leading up to, like, I watched all that. You were like fucking shaking in the back and shit. Like, that was dope.
It's so hard to like really put into perspective how nervous I was. I tried to explain it on the documentary, but it was bad. That whole week, it was hard to eat. I couldn't sit still. Like, it just didn't feel real. So
do you think that you being a part of the LGBTQ community was a part of that? Like, was that why you were so nervous, or was it more just the fact that they're putting the fucking stamp on you, that they're putting the rocket on your back, and you're going to be a part of, you're going to be the main man in the territory? Now, was it some of that? Was it all of that? Or was it just the fact that you were getting the strap?
Yeah. Well, it was all of that. But at first, it was just the fact that I was getting the strap.
Right.
The fact that this is an officially sanctioned world championship. So when the PWI puts their lists out of their, world champions,
you're in the back.
And you're next. You're like 2 spots below Roman Reigns. Like, it's like, what? So that on top of finding out that there's never been an openly gay male world champion. So that made it even worse, the nerves. So it was a lot going on. It's very overwhelming in the best way possible.
Nice.
I could definitely feel like it was definitely legit. Like I said, that was my favorite part of the documentary. Like, seeing you fucking like with your mask on, shaking in the back, and I don't know if that was the commissioner. He's like, calm down. It's all right. You've done this a million fucking times. He runs it. Yeah. He's like, you've done this a million fucking times. There's nothing different. Just go out there.
Right.
So now that you've done it a million times, though, like, do you still get those nerves when you get ready to walk through that? When you're standing there at Gorilla and you're getting ready to walk through the apron, do those nerves still hit every time?
Absolutely, every single time. And it's worse depending on the opponent. The bigger the name, the bigger the show, the bigger the audience. I don't think it's gonna go away.
That's good for you to hear, because and that's with anything that anybody does that you love. If it doesn't make you nervous like this, like I was nervous getting on, like I've done a million of these, but like I was nervous getting on with a fucking world champion. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it doesn't make you nervous, then you shouldn't be doing it. That's what I was always taught. Like, if you don't feel some type of way going in and doing something, then that's not what you need to be doing.
Yeah, because it shows you care. You want to deliver the best product that you can. So every single wrestler is a perfectionist, and I think you'd be surprised at how many wrestlers just like shit on their own matches you may think are like classic, and then they're in the back like, oh fuck, I should have done this, I should have done that, and they're writing down notes about how they can be better. It never ends. So it's crazy.
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you guys each one question, and I ask every guest on this specific episode this question. The question is, what has you pissed off for greatness in professional wrestling? And what that means is, what's the one thing right now that's just kind of digging under your skin about the sport, or has you just kind of pissed off for greatness? AC Mack, you're the guest. I'm going to tee off with you. What has you the most frustrated this week about professional wrestling?
This week? I won't go into any specifics, but cancel culture. Not just within wrestling, but just entertainment as a whole. I understand people are just dead out wrong, and people do make mistakes. But I think cancel culture points the finger too much, rather than trying to figure out why this is a problem, and this person might need help. So instead of go away forever, go away for now and rehabilitation. And so that kind of gets to me, just all forms of entertainment.
And I love that an openly gay professional wrestler that's his answer, because it's like, because a lot of this shit, like, don't get me wrong, like I know some people say stupid shit and they fuck up, but it's like, how long ago was it? Like, if it's some recent shit, that's different.
Yeah,
there people are getting canceled for shit they said when they were 18, 19 years old.
10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, and we're not the same person. You're not the same person you are when you're 18, when you're 25, or sometimes even 20. So it's like, I couldn't agree with you more on that one, like legit.
Yeah. I think we need to relax just a little bit. I'm not saying they're not wrong. I'm not defending them, but like, we need to allow people in the spotlight to make mistakes.
And to grow, because people do grow.
Well, let me ask you both a question on that topic then. I think it was Baker Mayfield, the year he was getting ready to be drafted in the NFL draft. People had went back to his Twitter when he was in high school, and he had tweeted out some lyrics to a rap song that had some questionable content, and he didn't edit himself at all. Do you feel like, looking at it from the perspective, could you use the excuse he was just a kid saying the words from a song? Because they tried to cancel Baker for doing something he did at like 15 or 16 years old. Do you see what I mean?
That's almost exactly what he's talking about. And shit like that. It's like, it's not the same. And if you really look at some of the stuff like Baker Mayfield, besides when the Odell shit came out, before that, no teammate, every teammate he ever had in college or the pros, they always said he was the consummate professional. They said he was a great teammate. And like they fucking followed him, and like he was really with all the black people doing the dances and shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, and all that. Like he was with all the, so you know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. Like it is like sometimes as a different race or sexuality or everything, like sometimes you do shit and you just don't know that you're offending someone. Yeah. And like that's how I looked at this shit with Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he said some stuff with nigga in it. But that's because he really loved niggas and like he loved black music and rapping and shit. You saw it when he went to college and in the pros. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he didn't, I think he knew it, but I don't think he realized it would be. Yeah. And like when you're 15 years old, like, come on, man, stop. We've all done stupid, fucking offensive, dumb shit when we're children. Like you're supposed to get over. That's why they seal your records. I got a bachelor's in criminal justice. That's why they seal your records before you're 18. Because they know you're going to do some stupid shit. Like, that's why they do that, for that specific reason. Because the shit you do when you're a child is not the same shit you do when you're an adult.
Yeah.
I'm super hyped that they didn't have things like Twitter when I was 14 and 15 years old. And not to date myself, I'm not old by any means, but I definitely think if social media had been
I think I'm older than you, bro. Chill.
You are. I'm pretty sure. See, I'm not the old guy. See, but I'm not the old guy anymore. But my point is, like, even just looking at where I was at 14 or 15, some of the things that, like, it's questionable. People don't think about the things when I was listening to the music I was then, and I look at it now and I go, okay, those things probably shouldn't have been said, but I didn't mean anything by it when I did. Being penalized for something 20 years ago when as a child at 14, 15 years old, you didn't know any better. That's where I feel like we reach a line where it's almost like, okay, guys, what exactly are we trying to prove here? You know what I mean? Are you trying to attack a child at this point for something who he genuinely may not have known any better for? You know what I mean? So I can agree on some levels with what you were saying. RN, what has you pissed off for greatness this week in professional wrestling?
This nostalgia shit that everybody has to fucking shove down our throats. Like, I hate it. Like, I don't, like, mainly Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Like, I don't want to see that shit. I didn't want to see Stone Cold versus Kevin Owens. Like, I don't want to see these old fucks that, like, I watched this shit. I've been watching wrestling nonstop. I didn't take any breaks through high school. I was a blurred in fucking high school. Yeah. Play sports and watch wrestling. I ain't give a fucking nobody said shit to me. I've been watching wrestling since 1993. I don't want to see any of those old motherfuckers on my TV today. Like, if it's like some shit like where they just come back and like they talk some shit, do a promo, cool. But like, I don't want to see any matches with these old dudes. I don't. Like, and nothing against The Rock. He's the biggest movie star in the world. The motherfucker ain't wrestled in how long? He doesn't show like he cares about wrestling. And like, what does that do for Roman Reigns wrestling The Rock? Yeah. And everyone says like, oh, they're going to bring eyes to the TV of WrestleMania. No, they're not. WrestleMania is for the fucking the random fan and the casual fan anyway. Those same people are gonna buy WrestleMania whether The Rock comes or not. Regardless. So like, what exactly is that doing for anybody? What is like? I know people says, oh, he gave the bump to fucking Kevin Owens. No, he didn't. He gave a Stone Cold Stunner that he barely fucking did with his ass with fucking 19 surgeries and looking like a 10-man. That didn't help Kevin Owens in any way. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That did not make Kevin Owens look better, taking a stunner from fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin and get beer poured all over. How did that make him look better? Please tell me that. Y'all can talk. I'm done with the nostalgia shit. Leave them old motherfuckers at home. Like, and then that reason they would talk about the brass ring. How can you grab the brass ring when every time there's a big show, you bring some motherfucker that's 70 years old out to grab it? Like, makes no sense. None whatsoever.
Goldberg. Y'all want to see Goldberg?
AC, I was going to ask you.
I hate Goldberg. That's my main one I hate. Like, bro, get out of here, bro. How many people does he have to almost murder trying to jackhammer him before we realize Goldberg should not come back?
As somebody who's trying to make his way up, AC, what are your opinions on that when they bring somebody like Goldberg in, man? Do you think that's what do you think about using the Hall of Famers the way they do currently?
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I'm on the fence about it because when you look at it from a business standpoint, I get it. They're scrambling for ratings. They're scrambling for engagement. They know nostalgia will always hit no matter what. And they're just poking at that. But on the flip side, it's really hard for somebody, let's say Seth Rollins, who's probably one of the best in-ring performers they have, for him to reach. Paul Heyman described it as you go from a superstar to an attraction. You're a superstar, you're there every week. People kind of know you, but you want to become that attraction like Brock Lesnar. Like no matter when you come, it's a big deal. And it's hard for people to get to that, especially, even Roman, who is the guy right now, undisputedly. But when you're constantly bringing in, the Goldbergs, the Rocks, even though he's my favorite wrestler of all time, I get it. It's hard. So I feel the frustration. I see it. And the Ruthless Aggression era, the beginning of that, like they were willing to take a step back and rebuild. And I'm wondering when they're going to be able to do that again. Like no stars, you create from the ground up. They're bringing in all these super athletes, but we're still waiting.
And that's my thing too. It's like, it's not like we don't have people that can perform or can be superstars. They just don't give them a chance to branch out to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the only reason why Roman got the chance is because he's related to The Rock and all them. Let's just be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, but no one else has really got that chance to branch out. Because to me, I think Seth Rollins I think he's better than Roman. I think he's on a higher level than Roman. But none of these guys are ever going to really get that chance because we, like you said, they're in that thing where they're reaching for ratings and they're trying to do this and they're trying to do that. It's like, why? Don't mention the brass ring if you're really not going to set anybody up to fucking grab it.
Well, let me ask.
And in my opinion, I think they kind of don't want.
No, they don't. They don't.
Yeah, names to get as big as The Rock or as big as Stone Cold, because then you lose the leverage.
Right.
Then
exactly.
Hollywood or Marvel can call, and they're gonna offer a gazillion more dollars, and they're gone. And I think I don't think they want that anymore.
Right. We talk about that all the time on the Rewind. Like that's exactly what it is, but they don't have the balls to just say that. They don't want anybody to be bigger than the brand.
So,
and that's why they don't give guys that opportunity. They bring those old fucks back because they can't hurt them. They're going to come for a couple weeks and leave.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the hot topics right now with Roman being on a part-time schedule, if it's not going to be Cody Rhodes getting pushed because of the injury sustained before Hell in a Cell, then we saw the horrific injury on the when he had the match with Seth Rollins. If it's not Cody's time right now and they're looking to push it back towards the Rumble, if not Cody now, then who? Who do you think needs that push to push up to the Roman Reigns level? Who's that next in line superstar right now, do you think?
I was going to say Riddle is the guy, but I mean, they're already setting him up to be the sacrificial lamb at Money in the Bank. So it's
the only one I can think of is Seth. That's
Shane. I mean, and they're not going to do that clearly.
Yeah.
Kyle in the chat says fucking nobody.
Right.
Alison says Seth. I'm going to go ahead and just throw it out there. We know he's not going to drop the belt probably before Mania. We're going to get another year-long stretch. What do you guys think about building Bobby Lashley up over the next pay-per-view or two and building a story with Lashley where he's the underdog babyface? He's getting right up there. He almost beats him a time, but maybe the Usos interfere. He almost beats him again, but then as a time limit draw. You know what I mean? They allow it to build throughout the summer while Cody's injured. What do you think about putting Bobby Lashley in that spot right now?
Go ahead, AC.
What is that?
I said, go ahead.
I'm not against it, but just with anything Lashley, I need MVP with him, and that might make him a heel, and I'm sorry, but I've never been the biggest Lashley fan. But when he was with MVP, that was something special. And they kept messing with it.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want you to answer something. As a black man, because these dudes don't understand what I said. Smiley nigga Lashley is not it. Tell them.
Yeah. Like, you know, like
they're like, they didn't understand that when I said that. I'm like, bro, I'm glad I got an actual other black person on here to understand what I'm saying. Smiley nigga Lashley is not it. It's not it.
Because we trying to play catch up. So we want somebody that's like really about it. We want somebody really gritty and it's like taking no prisoners, you know? So yeah, I mean, I'm not against it. I would pick that over a lot of other people, but we got to shape it a little more. I need MVP back as the mouthpiece. I'm not against the other guys getting back together. I'm not against that.
Hell no. Like, yes, bring the Hurt Business back.
Because that's, I think at that point for it to look believable, because Roman's gone through the roster now.
Right.
For it to look believable, you know.
And faction versus faction. Faction versus faction.
Do you think this is an opportunity to... Do you think it's an opportunity to build a faction here? So you'd have Judgment Day, then you would have this faction, then you would have the Bloodline. Like it would be multiple groups, a la like the 1980s, where you had the Heenan family, and then you had the Hart Foundation, where you had multiple superstars in each faction, and it were these super groups. Do you think that's a direction they could go with it and build these like big factions or groups?
Honestly, what I would love is that Roman's gone through the whole roster now, so we get like 3 or 4 figureheads to put factions together. And now you got 3 or 4 factions all looking at him at the same time. Like, okay, you ran through us, but like now we're desperate.
We're together.
We got to get this shit off you. So I feel like if multiple factions come in at, you know, at the same time as like just jumping them, I feel like that'll be completely different. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen that.
Are we talking like Battle of New York style thing where we're going to have like the leader of like
Gangs
4
like
Gangs of New York, where we got like the leaders of 4 and 5 gangs coming together so they can figure out who's going to be able to be like the governing body of all of it? Like they're going to be the uprising of the
they're
locker
all
room
working together. Yeah, they're trying to dethrone Roman. I think that would be such an interesting storyline. And it involves, my favorite thing in wrestling is where it involves like so many different bodies and intertwining stories. I love that. Like everybody hated the invasion storyline, but as a kid, it was just so much going on. I was like, oh my God. So I would love something like that.
I wouldn't pick Lashley. I would pick somebody new, because we all know like summertime, some shit always goes wrong. And summertime is like their time where they experiment and shit. So like I wouldn't mind them like going ahead with like Theory or somebody, or Montez, you know what I'm saying? Like they got a little click right there, you know what I'm saying? Like them with Riddle, you know what I'm saying? That's a 3-man click where they can like gang up with each other and like watch each other's back. And like let's all be honest, we know that Montel, they're setting him up to be the next guy. Like it may not be within the next year or so, but like we can tell like they're slowly, he's getting more single matches, he's getting more time to like show his personality. He's fucking blew up now. He's muscular as shit. He's huge now compared to what he was in NXT. Like we know that
when he first started, right.
We know that they're grooming him to be that guy. So like now is the time where you can experiment during the summer, because we all expect some whack shit or just some weird shit to happen during the summer. Like, because it's just like it's that time of the year. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and now that, like you said, because Roman has annihilated fucking everybody, let's just start throwing some shit at the wall and see if it sticks.
See what sticks. Let's just have some fun with it.
Right,
let's
exactly. Like this is especially with Money in the Bank, where that's what all that is throwing shit at the wall and hanging a briefcase up. Like, let's see how many people we can get that makes sense, or that we can maybe see the crowd kind of get behind and see what happens. Like, I mean, that's what I always thought the summer should be about. Like, you give your main guys a rest until like July and get them going towards SummerSlam. But that May to what is it? What would it used to be? Like fucking one night stand and all that shit and everything. Yeah. Just throw some guys out there you may not think about and like see what fucking happens.
Yeah. They did it with RVD in 06 with One Night Stand, and look how that turned out.
That was a fantastic match.
The best moment in his career,
Literally.
Catching up some things in the chat, Kyle says, the RN, you're a coward for not saying Drew Gulak. It's the RN, the Rewind's favorite wrestler.
It is.
And then Alison called you out because she said, you know good and well he doesn't have the chat up. Do you in fact have the chat up right now?
I have never had the chat up the entire time I've been
Boom, points to Alison right now on air.
If y'all don't know me by now, it's too distracting. Like I can't like pay attention. I'll be paying attention to one and not the other, so I just stopped bringing the chat up.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys right now. I have a two-part question for you, okay? Who do you think is the best wrestler right now in the world? But also the follow-up side of it. If you were 12 years old in 2022, who does 12-year-old AC Mack or 12-year-old RN think is the best wrestler in 2022? Does that question make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Ooh.
Go ahead, AC. You want some time? Because I already know I got the answer that's ready to go. Like
I feel like I've been singing his praises the whole show, but like I think honestly, Seth. I was gonna say, I was kind of looking through New Japan, I was looking through AEW, but like the way he's able to consistently perform at such a high level with whoever they put out there in front of him, I think you can't go against him. But if I was 12, then I would think Roman was the best out there. Like he got all the belts, his group has all the belts. They position him like a star, when he comes out, the world stops. So as a 12-year-old, I would think he would be the best wrestler.
All right.
Well, he took my answer as Seth for me. I mean, y'all know, Smack Raw people know, Seth's my number one right now, like my MVP. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, like he's not even, I never thought of him as one of my favorite wrestlers. If you asked him like a year or two ago, he'd be maybe my top 10. But like from the quarantine on, like, bro, like he's my guy. Like he's my number one in the world right now. And then 12-year-old me, I'd pick Will Ospreay because I was a big DX fan. And like, he's like a combination. To me, he feels like a combination of like old school Triple H and Shawn Michaels DX. Like he just got that swag. We were just talking about it on the rewind. Like, it's just something about how he carries himself. Like he's smooth as fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he seems like a killer at the same time. So like, if 12-year-old me would definitely ride with the United Empire, Will Ospreay for sure.
And he, the things he can do in that ring is unreal.
Facts.
It makes me feel like, why am I even here? Like, why am I?
That's why I said like the Shawn Michaels thing, because that's how I felt about Shawn Michaels when we were kids. Like, nobody's hanging with this fucking dude, but Triple H is my favorite all time. So, like Triple H's demeanor, in my top 5 too. Triple H is like demeanor and like how fucking like he was Shawn Michaels like hitman and shit. Then plus with everything Shawn could do in the ring, like that's how I look at Will Ospreay right now.
In the chat, we've got Seth as a pick. We've got Roman and Riddle both getting thrown out there. Bianca because she's a fucking baller. I completely agree with all those picks. Looking at where I was at in 12 and 13 range, Shawn Michaels and Mick Foley were always my number 1 and number 1A. Always 1 and 2 back and back. No questions asked. So if 12-year-old Will was watching wrestling in 2022, I think I would like MJF for a lot of the same reasons. I liked the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. He was that bad boy, but he was also still a badass in the ring, though. MJF does nothing but put out consistent bangers week over week. And when you look at his consistency and where he's at in his career and the turn on Jericho, I'm by no means saying he's the second coming of HBK at all. But what I'm saying is, with the right guidance, and if he eventually gets under the tutelage of, say, a Paul Heyman, you know what I mean? MJF and Paul Heyman together could be unstoppable, and I don't feel like there's any reason why that wouldn't be the case. And then my number 2 pick would probably be somebody like Bryan Danielson or CM Punk, somebody that's going to get in there and just really beat the shit out of somebody, but still stretch them. You know what I mean? Right. Like, get in there and make it look like a wrestling match, but they're going to bleed a little bit on a pay-per-view. And that's what they knew the right time to get color. So that's what I really liked about those guys. I'd probably say CM Punk or an MJF would be my 2 pick right now for sure.
When it comes to AEW, MJF is at the top of my list. He's the one I'm like most excited to see when I watch Dynamite. And with the current storyline now, like it's intriguing. Like as a worker, I'm still like, well, wait a minute. Well, hold on.
Is it a worker shooter?
Right. And so for you to make a grown man who is in wrestling think that, I think that's important. So
that makes me feel even better about it, because I feel that way too. Like I never know. Like I know it's a work. I mean, I know it's like a work, but is it? Like I'm always like. But now that another fucking wrestler said it too, like I feel better.
Yeah, because I have friends there, right? And they're left in the dark. But this entire time, MJF ain't been the most liked person backstage from what I hear. So it's kind of like, damn, I can believe this. It could actually be like, So I'm intrigued. And then Daniel Bryanson, I mean, come on. Like,
right.
He is the restless wrestler who knows how to still wrestle for TV. And when I tell you that is so hard to be.
Can you explain that?
Like, when I say a restless wrestler, they're like a genius. They're like a William Regal who's very technical. They don't care about the shenanigans. They don't necessarily care about entertainment. They're here to wrestle. The Benoits, the Eddie was another one that kind of toted that line. He was both.
Right.
But Daniel Bryan, he can get out there and do something really special and really intricate that a lot of people probably wouldn't get or understand, but he knows how to make it entertaining. And I think that is one of the hardest things in wrestling to do, because you're either or. Right. Like I chose the entertainment side. I'm not out there trying to do wrist locks and dragon sleepers and stuff like that. But he can do both, and that's
what I wanted you to get toward the part where it's like, yeah, he's being the wrestler's wrestler, but he's also making it easy for people on TV to fall in love with it too.
Exactly, y'all. That's not easy. I promise. Oh my gosh.
So asking kind of an in-ring psychology question, if that makes any sense at all. Do you feel like there's a huge difference between wrestling on TV when you get ready to do a match, say on IWTV or something, and you're doing the match there, versus if you're doing a spot show or an indie show somewhere that you may not have the time limit restrictions? Do you adjust your match based on if it's a TV match or not? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you kind of have to. Because the indie crowd, the bar has been set so high. We were just talking about Will Ospreay. So could you imagine if I'm on a show with Will Ospreay, I got to bring it. There's no downtime. Right. There's no heat. There's no jaw jacking. There's like, it's big move after another, and you have to make it make sense. You have to put things in place. But yeah, it's a completely different ball game. And I will admit that's not my strength. That's not like I don't consider, even though I am the indie world champion, I don't consider myself the indie guy when it comes to stereotypes. So I'm not against it. I think it's beautiful. I think what they're able to do is amazing. But yeah, it's definitely different from, say, watching The Miz on Monday Night Raw. That's TV, yeah.
Chat's catching up. Alison said 12-year-old her would be for Roman, but not because of his wrestling abilities.
Kyle, got it.
Yeah, noted. The only thing CM Punk is stretching is the truth on his in-ring ability. And Will Ospreay is the new Jon Snow. Stretching the truth on his in-ring ability. I feel like that's a pretty hot take. I feel like right now when it comes to executing a wrestling match, like
that's not hot at all. CM Punk is not the CM Punk in the ring that he was before he got back in. That shit is, I'm not saying it's ass, but it's not the best in the world CM Punk. And that motherfucker, he be making me feel like I can work cardio. He be winded as shit, and I'm fat and out of shape and almost 42. And he be making me feel like I could last longer in the ring than him. Like, let's just keep it 100. Like, don't get me wrong, on the mic, he's still CM Punk. He's untouchable. Yeah. Probably the only person that's anywhere near him is MJF. Right. And that's any promotion anywhere in the fucking world.
I agree.
You can add me if you want. But in-ring wise, he's dropped a couple notches in-ring wise compared to what we were used to, what he was doing before he retired.
I will say, I wish he was booked differently. I wish he came in like the star that he is. I don't, and this is no disrespect to Punk, I don't want to see him in the opening 20-minute banger on Dynamite. It needs to be almost like Lesnar-esque. Like, yeah, exactly. We should see you on pay-per-views only. I get it. AEW is a different ball game. They do things differently. But if I had to say so in it, I don't want to ruin that magic. I want to miss him.
And not even necessarily just pay-per-views, like they were doing when they started out, like once he got a little bit in, like the 10, 15-minute match on Rampage, where it's not that many eyes on him, but it's giving him enough time to kind of shake the fucking ring rust. Yeah. And give another young guy to rub, you know what I'm saying, like that. If they had kept it at that and then like kept him kind of hidden away, ducked off in the corner, it would have been a little bit different. But like you said, the fact that they threw him front and center 20 minutes, you know what I'm saying, like Dynamite, like we got to see the chinks in his armor that we hadn't seen before because we hadn't seen him in almost a decade. So like, no, I totally agree with you.
Do you think it's ring rust or just sheer age? I was looking it up. He's 43 years old.
It's age. It's
You
not
think?
ring rust. I mean,
Do you think it's
like
just sheer fact? If you look at another sport, for instance, AC Mack, you'll be able to speak on this because you're in the industry right now today. At 43 years old, they say a lot of times running backs start to age out at a certain age because of the miles on their wheels. Do you think with somebody like CM Punk at 43, do you think this is a point where he might be putting those last few miles on his tires before it's where he has no choice but to go?
Yeah. And I think he's overdoing it. If you notice, when people start to get in their late 30s, early 40s, they lighten their schedule. Like when they renegotiate with their contracts and they're talking events, it's like, hey, like, I love being here. I don't want to retire just yet, but
do you think
5 nights a week, I can't do that anymore.
With Roman going on a part-time schedule at 37 years old, though, do you think this is Roman maybe trying to prolong his career a little bit now with him going on a part-time schedule?
I think he's trying to do both. I think he's trying to prolong his career and allow time to explore other opportunities out there. And at the end of the day, I think he's earned it. He might not be 43, but I mean, when you think about it, since about 2015, he's been the guy. So like, he's earned it, I think. And he's putting on like bangers every time he's out there. And he's put over talent. I know the Buddy Murphy match, I still ain't over that. Like, that was great. So for him to do stuff like that when he doesn't have to, I think that's commendable.
Okay, AC Mack, I want to read you a comment in the chat right now, and I'm curious to hear your perspective as a professional wrestler, okay? The comment says, or he could adopt a Randy Orton style and not be as exposed. When you hear somebody say that about a stylistic of wrestling, what does that mean to you when they say he's not going to be as exposed?
No wasted movement. Us on the Indies, we all praise Randy Orton because he's not out there running all over the place. He's got the psychology down to a T, to where he will never get blown up. And he's a smoker. He will never get blown up because of how he plans his matches. I remember I was lucky enough to be able to run some drills with AJ Styles here in Georgia. And we were able to pick his brain while we were there, just kind of running spots and just kind of keeping his cardio up. He said his favorite person to wrestle in the E is Randy Orton because he just gets it. He does. Like that comeback, I'm not running all over the place. You run into me. You run at me, line. You run at me, power slam. Like, I'm not doing the running. I'll give you that DDT, and it's the same shit every single time. When we shat on John Cena for doing the same 5 moves, they all do it. They all do the same 5 moves because that's TV wrestling. The more you do it, the more crisp it is. That's what Speedball told me. He was like, he planned this crazy-ass match, but it's the same spots that he always does. So he doesn't feel nervous. He doesn't feel like, oh, I got to make sure I remember everything and blah, blah, blah. No, it's the same match. And that's what Randy does. Yeah.
I'm a Speedball guy. When you look at people like Ray Phoenix, I feel like I've been AEW heavy for that. And that's not specifically my thing. I feel like Kyle's typically our AEW guy on our brand. I'm more of the NWA guy, but I've been feeling like I'm like big AEW tonight. So when you look at somebody like Ray Phoenix wrestle, they say things like he's a high spot guy or a spot fest guy. Do you feel like he's adapting that lucha style to wrestling on AEW TV or trying to adapt that lucha style to AEW TV?
I think so. When and Spot Fest has such a negative connotation, like there's a way to do it to make it make sense. There's a way to do it to where, you can please different kind of fans or different kind of wrestlers. But yeah, I definitely think he's trying to bring that lucha style to make it more normal for AEW. I think he's great.
I think he's my favorite. He's my favorite person in AEW. Now that Kenny Omega's out, and like you said, like he that even though he is a spot fest, but it also fits in the TV. Like it's not nothing super crazy. Like he can get. Yeah, I've seen the motherfucker in person. Like he can get way worse and do some crazier shit. You know what I'm saying? Like trust me, I've seen him in person here in Ohio a couple times, like at Rockstar Pro and Revolver. So like trust me, it could get worse. He's definitely toned it down, and like you said with Daniel Bryan, like made it lucha TV style compared to what it could.
Yeah, you have to make some adjustments. Like you can do a whole bunch of shit, but you gotta make sure that the people can follow you. Ricochet did the same thing. AJ Styles did the same thing. Even with him, it's kind of age as well.
Right.
But yeah, once you have to let the people register what you're doing. You just have to.
All right, gentlemen, so let me ask you another question. In the dirt sheets in the rumor mill right now floating around is the headline that there's the possibility of getting a Austin Theory versus John Cena match in the near future.
Yeah.
RN, you've already preached a little bit about the nostalgia factor of bringing these old guys back again. If they try to give Austin Theory the rub by giving him a Cena match, do you guys think he's ready for that already as a young U.S. heavyweight champ?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I've been watching him a long time. I've seen him a couple times in Missouri and Maryland and Evolve. And if you've watched this show long enough, I've been screaming his praises for 3 years. And I've said he's a young John Cena. And the worst part is we've not even got to see how good he really is on the mic because they won't let him. Thank you. Another pro wrestler. I've been screaming at to these dudes for 2 years that he's fucking ridiculous on the mic and we haven't even seen the shit yet. I think go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Me and Theory started training under AR Fox within 2 weeks of each other.
Hell yeah.
And at this point now, I've been in the ring with some of the best in the world, thankfully. And Austin is still one of my favorite opponents, bar none. The things that he's able to do, and you're right, they haven't let him off the leash yet. No. It's so weird talking about him possibly challenging Roman or facing John Cena because I see him as a peer. So It's weird to hear that, but I 100% understand why the company would want that and why the fans can kind of tell and can kind of see it happening. He is a lot better than you probably already think he is. It's insane. Insane. Somebody that big should not be able to move the way he does. It is insane.
And that's another thing too. He doesn't get enough credit. You don't look at him as being that big of a guy, but he really is.
He did bodybuilding competition.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Real deal.
Bro, I've been singing this man's praises forever because I got lucky enough to see a bunch of shows of Evolve. I was just in Missouri for work for a weekend. I got to see them record Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm like, what the fuck? And he looks like John Cena when he was a prototype. He got the shorts and everything back then and all that. And I told people,
and that's his favorite wrestler.
I didn't even know that.
That's not TV. That's not him. That's not them just doing it because they look alike. That he legit loves John Cena,
and you can see it. That man. I'm telling you, I've been telling these fools forever. We have not even scratch the surface of what Austin Theory could be or will be once they fucking give him the Miz treatment and just let him go and do his thing.
And he's only 24?
That's what 24.
You got a whole nother 15 years of him. And because the way he thinks, he's such a hard worker. He's very military. No distractions. He's straight edge. He's very with the Cena mindset, the Bobby Lashley mindset of just people who've been in the army and they know how to stay locked in no matter what. He has that. And I think that's why they fuck with him so hard.
Stylistically, he reminds me.
It's Kyle in the chat. You hear that? Another professional wrestler telling you the same shit I've been telling you about Theory for 2.5, 3 years now.
Kyle says Theory is one of the reasons you tune into Raw. Looking at it from what you were just saying about Randy Orton and the way he wrestles his matches, I look at maybe Austin Theory as being a young version of him as well. Because when you see his matches, he knows what moves he's good at and how to execute them flawlessly every time. I also look at somebody like Madcap Moss. I didn't like him with the Baron Corbin story very much, but when you watch Moss work, he looks comfortable in the ring. His moves are tight. He's crisp with his timing. The things that I say make a good professional wrestler is when they can get past the moves and you're looking at things like timing and their facials and their ability to sell. These are all things that Madcap Moss excels at. So when he gets ready to shed this version of himself and become whoever the next version of Moss will be, I feel like him and Theory are kind of in that same position where right now we're getting that this is who we are, this is who we're going to become. You see what I mean?
If you get them at Mania 1-on-1 within the next 5 years, it wouldn't shock me at all. It would, unless they just already pushed Theory to the moon before the end.
I think that's gonna happen before we see them versus each other.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. Oh my gosh, I can go on for days. That man's good.
So looking at it right now, playing off of what Kyle was saying, he's the reason you tune into Raw. Raw this past week regained wrestling supremacy as the most watched wrestling program. Do you think currently, right now, as we stand on June 2nd, the 14th, not the 2nd, June 14th of 2022, do you think Raw right now is the best live wrestling programming that you can watch week over week?
To me, it is.
Wait, more ratings than SmackDown?
Raw, yeah. If the headline, I may be not correct, but they had the highest rating in the core demo, and they had the highest rating across the, as far as I know. So I might be wrong. Somebody might correct me, but I was rechecking my notes ahead of time. But they regained wrestling supremacy as the most watched wrestling program. Do you guys currently think it's the best program of the big two or three promotions?
Yeah, and I've been saying it on the Rewind the past fucking month that Raw is not terrible anymore. Like it's been mostly mid.
Is insane.
Right. It's been mostly mid. Like it hasn't been like super, but it hasn't been any shitty shows probably since fucking January, February to me. Like it's like I said, it's been a couple shows where you're like, that was all right, but there hasn't been any shows where you're like, why the fuck am I watching this? Like we went through a long time of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like to me, it has been like, and I've been preaching that. So
yeah. And I'm biased, so I'm no matter what the landscape looks like, I'm always gonna say Raw, just because I grew up Team Red, back when Triple H was opening them up with 20-minute promos and.
Now, don't get my boy RN going on Triple H. That is his boy. That is his number one.
The best thing I saw in wrestling was Monday Night Raw, so it's forever gonna be a staple for me.
Just out of curiosity, what wrestling were you exposed to when you were a kid? Like, what were you watching when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, it was the Attitude Era.
Okay.
And I wasn't even still locked in yet. I was just, wrestling was so big at the time that it was just pop culture. Like, you knew what it was without watching. So I would see stuff in the hallway from my peers, them doing the Rock stuff, the Undertaker stuff. And I knew it was wrestling, but I would tune in every now and then just to kind of keep up with what was going on in the world. But it was huge, and I don't think I've ever seen it be that huge since.
How old were you doing the Attitude? Like, how are you right now?
I'll be 30 in September.
So yeah, I'm almost 10 years old. But I started like Ultimate Warrior got me into like my mother's godbrother. He used to come in and do the toss us in the fucking air and shit. Like,
right. That's what my cousins did.
Like, but the Attitude Era is when I got locked in. That was when I knew like this was like. That's when I knew this wasn't like, you know, when you're a kid and your family like, oh, it's a phase, he'll grow out of it.
Yeah.
Like once Shawn Michaels and Triple H came out telling motherfuckers to suck it and stuff, like I knew that I would never not like this. Like I said, like most of the people that we do this show with, like they all had their like gaps in wrestling. Like I'll be 38 in August. Like I have never stopped watching wrestling since I started when I was 6 years old. So like this is a lifelong love and passion for me. So like,
and there's been some rough gaps.
Yeah, and there's been some rough gaps. But yeah, no, the Attitude Era is when I was just like, that's when I knew I'm like this. I love this. Like I love this.
This is the perfect segue here, and I love it when I have good guests that come on that help my show run because it makes my job as easy as possible. One of my suggestions for a topic was the 4 pillars. You hear Tony Khan bring this term up. We've heard who they are, what he thinks, but since all 3 of us are so in tune with the Attitude Era, I had 3 different eras picked out, but I think it kind of shows itself here for us. If you were to look back at wrestling in that late 90s, early 2000 period, who were WWE's 4 pillars during the Attitude Era? Either one of you can go first. Just hop right in and go.
I'll go if you're thinking.
I got like 3, but
I have mine picked out. All right. Yeah, you guys go ahead and start chiming in a minute, and I'll start throwing mine.
It's Shawn Michaels, Rock, Austin, and mid-card would be, I'd probably have to say Triple H in the mid-card, like going out of all of that, like when he first took over DX and all that, like, and that was going into the 2000s, so like right out of the Attitude Era and all that. So yeah, I'd go Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Rock, and Austin. And that's not me being biased, that's being real.
AC, who you got?
I would do the same, but I would take out Shawn and put in Taker. Only because when Shawn went out with his back injury, I felt like that was like the Attitude Era started right after that. I think.
Okay, go ahead, sorry. But
I was just going to say, and he came back in 2002 right after the Attitude Era ended.
Right.
So that's going to chime my 2 cents in. I'm going to go ahead and say that Shawn Michaels, I have the kind of in-between opinions about him in the Attitude Era. He came through 92, and then by 96, 97, he was out and came back in the early 2000s around 02, whatever the timing is. I feel like he missed that chunk of the core Attitude Era. So looking at my 4 pillars, I would have said Austin and Rock are easy. 1A and 1B week over week, no matter what. Those 2 guys carried the industry. Number 3 would be Undertaker. I feel like, consistently speaking, that was one of his most solid runs. They weren't necessarily his power world championship runs, but the American Badass, you know,
was iconic.
Yeah, it was such an iconic character. So I would say Taker would be my 3.
And that's my favorite. Hot take. That's my favorite Undertaker.
Hands down, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
The American Badass, like Attitude Era Undertaker, absolutely my favorite. Then my number 4 is always going to be, and I say it every time I talk about him, we do not deserve him on the planet. He is the coolest person ever, and that is Mick Foley. Like, I think what that man did for wrestling in the late 90s, like, he changed the game. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the bumps he was willing to take and the way he was willing to sell and the things he did. Like, Jim Cornette said that he could get run over by a bus and not sell it. I completely disagree in the sense that when you watched him get thrown off that cell in 97 or 98, like, you literally watched him and went, oh, fuck, he may die. Like, he may have died when that happened. Like... that was almost when I stopped watching wrestling because my mom thought that shit was real and thought we just watched a dead body for real.
Yeah.
Like, that was almost the end of me watching wrestling.
But I feel like he changed it so much to the point of what we found out the human body was capable of. That's how he changed wrestling. So that's why those are who my 4 pillars would be through the Attitude Era.
You just convinced me. I'm taking Triple H out and I'm putting in Mankind. You just convinced me.
I just convinced RN and Triple H guy to take Triple H off his list and replace him with Mick Foley.
I always forgot about like the different fucking 59 versions of Mick Foley we got.
Yeah,
that's it, guys. Show's over. Thank y'all for stopping by. We're gonna wrap it. We're putting it on record.
Listen, y'all know I'm a Triple H, but I'm biased when it comes to my wrestling. Like, you know what? That was a great argument. I'm replacing him with Mick Foley for sure.
Speaking on another Attitude Era icon in Bret Hart. Well, depending on if you want to say Attitude Era, allegedly. He was recently quoted as saying, Natalya is a pioneer who breaks ground every day. RN, this is the one I got for you, sir. Do you think Natalya is a pioneer who breaks ground every day?
No, I think she was. Like, she started out as like the only real wrestler in the Diva era. And like, as much like, AC, I don't know if I hate Natalya, like, I don't hate her, but like, she's just so fucking like overrated and shoved down our throats worse than any Roman Reigns, Undertaker, anybody. But once that we made that shift to where not everybody was just big titties and makeup, she fell down. Like, I'm sorry, like, she's not as good as everyone claims she is now. She hasn't been for a long time. Bro, they put her in the Macho Man A&E documentary because she swam at their pool when she was 5 years old. She's the epitome of live, laugh, love, like ass all the way around, bro. She's not groundbreaking as far as anything goes, unless you mean like for plastic surgery or having the most stiffest lips and shit. Like, but other than that, or how many cats you can own and shit. Like, other than that, what is she breaking ground on? Name the last great Natalya match since before. What was it? Her and Shayna 3 years ago. Like, name she can't even do the sharpshooter right. Look how many times she fucks up the sharpshooter, and it's her family move. She should be able to do that with her eyes closed in a dark arena. You know what I'm saying? You did this on purpose. Fuck you, Will. Why are you making me show out in front of company, Will?
Yo.
Look, dude, I'm gonna be honest. I don't mean to cut you off, AC Mack. I am notorious for doing this, and I love the fact that when I find out that I've got somebody, I love RN, I've done it to a few other people, I will find a topic and put it like halfway through the episode and just wait for that moment and just drop it on them just because I'm just going to be able to hit like...
Why are you making me show out in front of the company, Will? Like, it's my first time here with them in our home. under the Smack Raw umbrella, and like you want to make me act an ass in front of company, man. Come on, bro.
Look, I'm just gonna show him what he's gonna get when he comes out. It's like when you come out, you come to the cookout, you know exactly what to expect every time you come.
Yes.
You see what I mean? Like this isn't gonna change. This is just who we are. Yeah, this is exactly. This is just what to expect, man. That's just the way it is.
This is like if you break up Natty, I'm gonna have a fucking rant.
And I knew I could get it. That's what it was. That's just like bait and hook. I knew I was gonna get you going.
Bait and fucking hook.
Okay. So speaking on a current superstar who is absolutely ready to go, but the question is going to be where should he land? And that person is Antonio Cesaro. What are your opinions on this guy, and where do you think he should go next?
Go ahead, AC.
I think he's one of the best to ever do it. Severely underrated to the point where I could just break down in tears because, God, his matches have been great for it's got to be over a decade now. I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the biggest ROH guy back then, but for what I've seen, that was amazing as well. The worker in me wants to say AEW, but they got too many people right now. I feel like he could help bring an Impact up, or further up, I should say. But yeah, that's all I got. Not AEW, it's just too many people.
Yeah, not AEW for me either, but shout out to Mir Shadows. He should definitely go to New Japan and join the United Empire.
I was going to follow-up question would be, I have written on my notes, just so everybody can see that I'm not cheating. You can't really read that shit, but I'm just going to...
Yeah, we can't see that.
Y'all can't read shit. I have BCC ? / New Japan Pro Wrestling ? And that would he be a better fit in the Blackpool Combat Club? Or would he be more favorable if he went to New Japan Pro Wrestling? Not necessarily to be in the Bullet Club by any means. That's not at all what I'm suggesting. But do you think Cesaro has the style to be over in Japan?
Fuck yeah. Like, that hard-hitting power style. Like, that's why I said the United Empire, because I'd love to see him and Jeff Cobb in the tag team. Like, I think that would be a dope-ass tag team over in New Japan. Them just completely fucking wrecking people, because those are clearly... by far, probably the two strongest people in fucking professional wrestlers. Like, seeing them dudes toss people around in the heavyweight division, like that, I think that shit would be amazing.
Yeah. And I just, wherever he goes, I want him to be packaged as a main eventer.
Facts.
Like, we know he can go, but, like, I want to see him as a star.
Chat says, way too many people in AEW. Completely agree with that. I think I've always said that with 3 hours of live TV, blah, 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 4 hours on YouTube, and with a 160-person roster or whatever we're up to, that just seems ridiculously big for me as to, like, how huge this roster really is to try to fit that many people into quality stories on 3 hours. We can talk forever about that. Looking at another topic, though, around AEW is there's a new ladder match coming on Dynamite on Wednesday due to the Hardy situation. This seems to be a reoccurring issue with Jeff now. What do you guys think about this growing, and AC, this is another one for you because you're currently in the business, man. You've got your finger on the pulse, so to speak. What do you guys think about the rising numbers of substance abuse issues inside the world of professional wrestling?
It is scary. It's a lot greater than what you think it is. I've seen a lot of shit backstage that I was just uncomfortable with, uneasy with. I'm very vocal and respectful about wanting my opponent to be clear-headed and safe. And the Jeff Hardy stuff is unfortunate. I can't. When I saw that headline, I just didn't believe it. Not again. It's to the point now where us as fans, we have to let our bias aside and say, you know, this should be over for
Facts.
you. And as somebody who's loved him for years, like, I would rather you go get help and never wrestle again. Because I think it's him trying to live up to what he's done in the past and to keep these big spots rolling. And the shit hurts. And I feel like he feels like there's no way out of the pain other than the substance abuse.
Right.
And so at this point, I would rather just eliminate the pain. So.
Well, as the only black dude that didn't like Jeff Hardy, like,
Wow, really?
Bro, I did like WrestleMania 2000.
Another Botched Spots and Chair Shots first.
Wow.
RN admits to being a black
Black
man
Twitter,
that does
I
not
don't
like
like
Jeff
that.
Hardy.
Black Twitter been fucking blazing me about it. But my thing is like, how many motherfucking shots can you give a dude? Like,
Yeah.
and like I said, like I know addiction is a disease. I'm not saying it's something that you can easily get over, easily overcome. Like I actually lost my younger brother to an overdose of heroin in 2015. So like, it's not something I take lightly or something that I just fucking brush aside. But it's like, what I took away from that experience was how long can the people around you enable you and okay the shit that you're doing. And that's what it is. Like, because remember WWE when he walked out on the ring, they asked him to go to rehab, and him and Matt and all of them said that he wasn't on drugs or drinking or anything, and he didn't need to go to rehab. And then this happens, what?
And they shot the E so hard for that.
Right, 3 or 4 months later. So that means he probably was then. If he's now, like, you don't just magically appear and start back drinking and doing drugs and shit again. So like, that's what I've always took from it. Losing my brother the way I did is we enabled that shit. We didn't tell him it was okay, but we turned a fucking blind eye and we ignored it and didn't take it as serious as we should have. And out when we lost him. So like coming out of it for me, when I see someone that's doing substance abuse, like after a certain amount of time, we can't continuously blame the person that's diseased. You got to start blaming the fucking people that are around him.
Yeah.
Like the people that keep giving him a job, the people that keep giving him a chance, the people that won't admit that he really has a problem and tell him to his fucking face he has a problem that he needs to get help. That's where I'm at with it, like including his brother and then his family members, AEW, and all of those fucking people. Like how long can you keep enabling someone that you know is sick? That's where I took from it, where I'm like, fuck Jeff Hardy, but I was fuck Jeff Hardy before we found out he had substance abuse problems.
That's wild.
See, they didn't know that. Bro, they didn't know that niggas love Jeff Hardy, that all niggas love Jeff Hardy.
They do.
That's another thing they did not know, that all black dudes fucking love Jeff Hardy. I'm like the only one that didn't. Like literally the only one that did. Look,
all black dudes and Will Gray. Just
I agree 100% though.
Throwing my 2 cents on the situation, I don't usually like throwing a lot of my personal life out there in a lot of these situations, but sobriety, substance abuse, relapse, these are a lot of words that I've heard a lot in my personal life. You know what I mean? From personal ones to family members to friends. You know, we've had people, we've lost loved ones because of it. And I feel like the biggest thing I've taken away is the person who needs the help won't get it until they're ready. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the thing. Jeff is going to have to be ready on a personal level. That's not something that I can do or AC can do or RN can do or anybody. Like, that's just one of those things that we can't do anything for Jeff Hardy. It's going to come down to Jeff Hardy needing to be ready to help himself. And I feel like that's just where it's at. And you're right. How many chances is he going to get before he genuinely hurts someone or hurts himself? We're not talking about professional wrestling anymore. We're looking at the big picture of it in the sense of what's going to happen if it happens one more time. And you know what I mean? You start looking at the situations where we've lost so many great people in the real world all the time because of this. Like, how many passes does this man get before it becomes a bigger issue than professional wrestling? It's a tough topic, man, but I feel like it's one of those things that they intertwine when you have those big headlines that hit like that. Like, it sucks to have to talk to them, but you almost have to speak on them. You know what I mean? If you want to hear it. So it's one of those really uncomfortable things. Kai says you're lying, RN. He says you're for sure wore fishnets when you were younger.
You can't take anything he says serious. He's clearly the least smartest person on the SmackDown brand, as we proved that when we did the trivia and everything like that. So you gotta take everything he says with a grain of salt.
Kai says he lives 20 minutes from him. He could be his driver whenever he's in town. Absolutely. And I still say it every time I go. I have like an 0 in a million record in anything wrestling Jeopardy related. For some reason, when it comes, I have this great memory when it comes to things. Like, I could just rattle off dates and times and title reigns. But when you put me on the spot and you're like, who was the champion in 1992? I'm like, fuck, dude, I have no idea. Like,
I came in second place in that show, but the only thing that killed me was I don't know WrestleMania numbers. Like,
Yeah.
I know matches, I know what happened, I know the storylines leading up to it. But if you ask me what WrestleMania was it, I got nothing. And that's why I lost that. Like, and I beat Kyle on a random one that I just went straight up fucking Will Ferrell from Old School, where he just like, and I just shot out WrestleMania 22 and it was right. That's how I beat Kyle.
AC, would you consider yourself to be a wrestling super fan, where you would say that like you were one of those people who watched it, where you're like WrestleMania 17, TLC 2, Hardy's, Dudley's, Edge and Christian? You know what I mean? You can just rattle off the numbers, your matches, your favorite ones. Do you have one of those moments from your childhood where it was just like, this is the moment for me where I was like, fuck, this is what I want to do for a living. I need to be a professional wrestler.
So sorry, I mentioned the Invasion storyline. My favorite match of all time is the winner take all match from Survivor Series 01. And the SmackDown right before it was just everybody in that match coming out and hitting their finishers.
Yeah.
And I still don't think there's been a moment that has like surpassed that for me. And they probably weren't even trying like to make that special, but just how smooth everything was. You had every single big star hitting their signature move. Like, that was legendary for me. I'm a super fan, but I'm not good at dates, especially anything before 97. I'll admit that. I don't know it. But I remember like big moments that stuck out to me. So that SmackDown ending, Triple H losing to John Cena at 22 made me cry. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
My God.
Obviously the pipe bomb promo, that whole storyline. Katie Vick, I remember that. And Kane when he was unmasking in 03, like that was my favorite Kane ever. That run, that was where I was legitimately scared of Kane. The mask was like that's corny, but when he took it off, he was shocking Shane McMahon's balls and stuff like that. Yeah,
that man looked like the baby off of Toy Story with the legs. That's what he looked like. That shit.
Yeah,
that's why he always scared the shit out of me.
RN, what about you? What's one of those moments from your childhood that was just like, dude, this is it? Like, wrestling is it.
When the Iron Man match, Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, that was, I mean, I can remember where I was at, what I was doing, who was in the room. Like, I can remember the promo packages going on with Jose Lothario and all that. Like, it just like that's when I knew, like I knew I loved things and like things, but like I knew I loved like people and like my family and shit like that. But that was the first time I knew I loved something that wasn't tangible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I will say, as a worker, I think every single person who ever laces up a pair of boots should watch that match at least once.
Yeah.
At least once. Because they went through that whole hour and did nothing but the basics, the fundamentals. And it was a bunch of drills. Not taking anything away from the match, obviously, right. But like you have to see how that can be done. You just have to. So. And
then Taz going through the stage with Bam Bam Bigelow, ECW 98. I was there when it was on my birthday.
Dude, what timing, man. I swear. Ravage Dragon just put that in the chat. I remember the ECW when Bam Bam Bigelow ran Taz through the ring and then again through the ramp. Like, Dragon just put that same moment in the chat.
Hair Arena. I was there. It was my birthday.
Dude, that is so dope. That's one of those moments, man. For me, I had two that really stuck out in my brain as soon as I was listening to you guys talk. Boiler Room Brawl 96 SummerSlam, Undertaker and Mankind. The big turn at the end of the match when Paul Bearer turned on Taker. I thought that was crazy because up until that point, Taker had been a Paul Bearer guy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that was the thing. And then also an Undertaker moment was In Your House Bad Blood in 97 when Kane's debut happened. The Shawn Michaels Undertaker Hell in a Cell match, the big build up in that story, everything coming up to the title, and then Shawn getting the win because Kane debuts, and everything building up in the story to the debut of Kane, keeping kayfabe. Like, people genuinely thought that was that man's brother. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, they thought they were related. Everything about it was like, this is the long lost brother that Undertaker killed that came back now. But for me as like a 12, 13-year-old kid, like, those were those moments that just like nailed it for me, that made me go like, I'm invested in this. Is what I give my grandmother shit for watching her stories, but like I'm invested the same way in this shit as she has heard, ER and stuff like that. Like I feel the same way about it. The pipe bomb was another one. Going back on what you were saying, AC, I think that when CM Punk came out and he sat down and he went Indian style and he said it, and then I think the character arc all the way over into 2021 when he came back and he sat down and he goes, "Let me tell you a story," or how he did
that's that long-term story.
Yeah, that's that build. So I love that. So the tie-in for both of those. One more topic, and then we're going to turn it over to the chat before we sign off. Forbidden Door is right around the corner. This is one of those another things that's been coined over the last few years when you get these massive cross-promotion work. AC, I'm going to have one question for you, and then I have a question for you guys together. Do you think in indie wrestling, when you bounce between promotion to promotion, do you feel like the Forbidden Door really means anything in 2022 as a professional wrestler? But also, do either of you have a favorite moment when the Forbidden Door was used in the past? It's a loaded question, man.
Yeah, it's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I think it's still there. I think AEW is like making it a point to like make it a thing. And I'm intrigued by that. I don't follow a whole lot of other promotions, but I am intrigued to see what happens. Intrigued to see what I'm exposed to. I know a few New Japan guys, but not enough to really like list all the names, and I'm excited for this matchup and this and that. But just in general, I'm excited for it. And what was the second part of the?
Do you have a favorite
question?
My incredibly hard question. Do you have a favorite moment in wrestling when the Forbidden Door has been opened? When something in the past has happened that you're like, oh man, I've got a couple in mind, but do you have one of those moments that stick out in your head right now? RN?
I'm young, so I missed all the.
Feel free to jump in, RN. I don't want to dominate it and take over.
I was letting him get his because like my shit's different, so
yeah, I was
letting him get his out the way.
For me, it was seeing Eric Bischoff be named the Raw General Manager. I didn't see that coming, so I don't know if that counts. But
RN, what about you? Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't with Indies. I don't really look at it like that as Forbidden Door with the Indies because that's their job and that's what you have to do, and you can't stay in one spot. You have to move along to make your money and to make a name for yourself. So like as far as indie wrestling go, I don't really count them a part of the Forbidden Door shit because like there is no Forbidden Door in the indies. Like anybody can end up anywhere as long as the paycheck's there, as long as you got the crowd to get you there and that wants to see you. So like I don't really look at that as like a Forbidden Door because there ain't no like exclusive contracts with indies, so you can kind of go where you want. But as far as they try, right? No. But as far as I look at it as for like the big three and like the big two really, and like to me the only like real Forbidden Door moment because AEW and New Japan have had a working relationship before, Ring of Honor and AEW and New Japan have so I don't look at those as Forbidden Doors when you have a working relationship. That's not forbidden. The only real one is Mickie James showing up at the fucking Royal Rumble with the Impact World title on. To me, that's the only legitimate Forbidden Door because WWE does not acknowledge any other fucking federation in the world. Never have they, unless they buy it and put it in a tape deck.
Oh, hold on a second. I'm stretching real quick before I get ready to go. I've been waiting for this.
To me, like that's
this is one of those moments where I get it. You ready? Whew.
Yeah, let's go. Let's hear it.
Well, some of my favorite moments where the Forbidden Door have been opened. One is 1998 in the Royal Rumble when Jeff Jarrett came in as the NWA North American Champion. And yes, it was kind of an invasion angle. WWE is working a partnership with the NWA to kind of bring in some people ultimately so that they could get Jeff Jarrett to jump brands and come over to WWE.
And Dan Severn was the champ too. That's why I don't count that.
Well, how can you not? The WWE didn't know.
And all that with Jim Cornette. Like I don't
count
Come
the fuck on, dude. Come on, man. Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
They were all there.
Smoky Mountain Wrestling was its own entity, man. It doesn't count. It was its own promotion. They defended their tag titles in 1992 at Survivor Slam.
It was WWE. It's been WWE's fucking minor league and developmental for fucking like 30 years, bro. Stop.
No, you're thinking OVW. You're thinking Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
No, I'm thinking Smoky Mountain Wrestling, where the Chris Jericho and Lance Storm and all those guys wrestled. Like they always picked from them and used their guys either as jobbers or to bring them up because that was Lawler's spot. So like, what are you talking about?
Smoky Mountain Wrestling was Cornette's gig. But
right, my bad.
But I love you, RN. I just want to say that I'm gonna say I love you because the things I'm about to say might not sound that I love you.
Uh-oh.
Okay, if you look at what Smoky Mountain Wrestling was in the early 90s, it was the last era of the territory days. What Jim Cornette wanted to do, love or hate the man, Jim Cornette was a wrestling genius in the early 90s when he was doing Smoky Mountain Wrestling. What he was doing, he had people bankroll him to be successful. He was ultimately able to start a wrestling promotion with $0 in the bank. And AC, I know you can attest to this. The deeper I get into the indie world working with the promotions I do, it's so hard to make money in professional wrestling. So the reality of the situation is for him to be able to have enough of a mind to promote his promotion, go as big as he was, make money when he was doing it. He did fold, but he did make money while he was a promotion.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he was a little bit more than, was he a feeder program to the WWE? Sort of, but not really, because the talent that he was bringing in, eventually, before they went to WWE, most of them ended up in ECW or went to WCW or went through the dying days or came out of the dying days of what the NWA was. Like, I don't necessarily feel like they were just a feeder program for the WWE. Were they kind of the D League, so to speak, or the G League like the NBA? Yeah, probably so, but I don't think they were just a feeder program for Vince in Connecticut, though. So I disagree with you there. I think Smoky Mountain Wrestling was kind of its own thing, so for their titles, but you are right, that was the last and only time WWE has allowed another promotion's title to be defended on their live TV. Was 1992 Survivor Series, and the Smoky Mountain Wrestling titles were on the line. Do you think we're long overdue for something like what's about to happen in 2022 for the Forbidden Door with AEW? Do you think we're overdue for this kind of multi-promotional scale, multiple world titles on the line? Are we ready for it in 2022?
I mean, it is what it is. Like, I'm not mad at it that it's taking this long, like, because I like that there's different stuff. And sometimes, honestly, I'm not necessarily, I don't know if I really like the cross pollination, honestly, but I think it's easier for AEW because as much as people don't want to admit it, they're still just a higher level indie. They're not really at the level that WWE is. So it's a lot easier for them to broker these deals and to make these partnerships with like Impact and stuff like that. So it's like, it is what it is. Like, I enjoy it. Like, I love New Japan. I think it's the second best promotion in the world to me. Yeah. I watch it more than I watch AEW. So, but like I said, so to me, it's fucking awesome, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. It's definitely making me watch AEW more than I would.
Nice. Okay, gentlemen, this is my favorite part of the show because it is the absolute easiest part for me. I'm going to ask each one of you individually to plug your stuff, tell everybody where to find you, what you've got going on, and all your socials and fun stuff to get yourself over. AC Mack, you're the guest of honor, so you go first, sir.
Yes, I try to keep it consistent. So, excuse me, sorry. I'm AC Mack everywhere, either AC-Mack or AC_Mack. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, Tumblr, if you still have that, any and everywhere. You just search AC Mack. Pro Wrestling Tees, AC Mack there. I'm not sure if we're still doing What a Maneuver. I don't know if they're canceled or not. I can never keep up, but if that's still your thing, my shirts
that's
long-term
long-term storytelling from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode. See,
right.
I am a great host, guys. I am a great host. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We got some great stuff coming up, man. I just got off a 4-match run with Anthony Green, Makabe, Speedball, and Eric Royal. So I'm dog shit tired, but we got some dope stuff coming up. I can't make any announcements yet, but just be on the lookout. I'm in Jersey this weekend for Pro Wrestling Vibe. It's the first ever LGBT festival, like a whole weekend of wrestling shows. So the fact that we're even able to get that, I remember coming in 16 and not even being able to tell people. So it's been dope to see the progress. Yeah. And we, still Southeast first, still repping it. I'm trying to bring more notoriety, more exposure to a lot of overlooked talent here in this region. And I think so far, so good. So I'm just trying to keep it consistent, keep it rolling.
Well, you can find me on Twitter, Mr. 8984. Facebook, my government, you know what I'm saying? Instagram, ARA8984. Look us up on Facebook. Mean Jelly Bean Memes if you want to make your mom wince and your dad's butthole pucker. Also follow us on YouTube as well. Mean Jelly Bean Productions. We just put our new song out a couple weeks ago. Think Too Much. It was at a buddy of mine's diaper party. We all dressed it up like dads and shit. New Balances and leather sandals everywhere. So definitely check that out.
No.
I'll shoot you the link when we get off here, AC.
Oh my God. I'm gonna send it to my boyfriend.
Looking through the chat one more time before I sign off. Ravage brought up Christian doing the Forbidden Door stuff with TNA. He also said when they did the 1,000 different master wrestlers in the Royal Rumble, Alison flexed on Mickie James thinking her glasses were cute. And AEW have no doors. They're open to anyone. So that was the last few things the chat had to say about the Forbidden Door.
Y'all savages.
Alrighty. Let me see if I can do it without fucking it up. You ready? Now, as we close another episode of Botched Spots and Chair Shots, I want to take a minute and thank you for listening. Remind you to go anywhere you do anything on the internet. Facebook, Instagram, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google. Literally, you have all the options. Like, follow, subscribe, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment telling me how great I am or how terrible I sound. Either way, it helps the algorithm and it helps find new listeners. If you're feeling really generous and be one of the VIP people, head over to patreon.com and donate to the Smacked Raw Podcast Network. You get some free swag, we get some cool equipment and awesome guests like AC Mack. As always, I am your host, The Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.